He had bought a 3D printer to play around with, and we were like, the filament that goes in it. Well, our corporation was formed April 29th, 2015. We designed, built all of our own equipment. So what we do is we manufacture 3D filament. So this filament is fed into a 3D printer that produces parts like this skull. This is actually a prototype part for our line. Replica of Dilbert. So Tyrannosaurus Rex, things like that. At our first sale, September 14th. So we actually bought the extruder early in the year in 2015, around January, February timeframe. Started building it really right around, I think, after spring break that year. Had it pretty much built June, July, started doing some product testing, and had our first sale September 14th. Our first year sales, we've sold $13,500 worth of product in the year, just doing it on the side. Our facility and equipment, like Samantha had mentioned, we are in a garage, but we fake it till you make it. 1,200 square foot facility is what we say we are. Extrusion line capable of making PLA, and that's polylactic acid, and that's biodegradable, made really out of like corn starches and things like that. We have a 50-pound hopper, a 1-inch extruder, hot and cold water bath, dual axis inline laser checker, and a dual spool winder. Our capability of production, we can make about 140 1-kilogram rolls a day. And that's running, we figure, 24 hours, 90%, 95% efficiency, and then some changeovers in there. And how our 3D filament is made is to go through and give you a rundown of the process. So you take a raw pellet type form of plastic, you dry it, try and get all the moisture out of it, add 2 to 4% colorant to it, which we purchase locally at Ampeset in Terre Haute. Run it through an extruder, and an extruder has 4 heat zones and a screw in it. So it comes in, it screws out there, and it sends out of a die, and this is our actual die, only it's metal. 3¼ millimeters, goes through a hot water bath, and the purpose of the hot water bath is to maintain the ovality and give it its quick cure. And then we send it through a cold water bath, which is to maintain, to get it at that solid state so that we can't stretch it anymore. We send it through an air wipe that blows the water off of it. Then we send it through a dual axis laser checker, so it looks at the filament in 2 directions to make sure that we maintain our ovality. We send it through a pull roll section, and that pull roll section actually pulls it out of the extruder. So if you remember, I said it's 3¼ millimeters on the extruder end, and our finished product is 1.75 millimeters. So we actually pull it out of the extruder and anneal it down to 1.75 millimeters, and we try and maintain plus or minus 0.05 millimeters on our filament width or diameter. So how did we get started? So Jason and I work for the same engineering company, and we were talking about, just in our spare time wanting to see if we could take and rebuild some equipment and see what we could do with it. He had bought a 3D printer to play around with, and we were like, the filament that goes into that 3D printer, a lot of our background was in plastics. We felt like we could do it. So our jump into the market was buying an extruder. So we bought the extruder, designed the die. Whether we knew it or not, we did our first prototyping project with our die. The die that came on the extruder was not usable for what we wanted to do. So we did some research, kind of looked at what we needed to do as far as designing the die, drew this in Google SketchUp, sent it down to a machine shop, had them machine it, and the die actually took a little bit of special machining because it's conical on the inside, so it's about a 1-inch diameter to start off with, down to 3¼ millimeters. So it starts here at 1 inch, cones down, and then about the last half of it is 3¼ millimeters. So this was our first actual prototyping project for us. So all that stuff is stuff we knew how to do. You know, build a machine, make some plastic, heat it up, squirt it out the end of a die, make it, you know, make it good. We're like, yeah, we're good there. All right, now what do we do? How do we run the business? Is this a sole proprietorship or a partnership, an LLC, a corporation? So we formed an S corporation. We talked. So being technical guys, we found the least technical accountant that we could find in Linton, Indiana, and he's been an accountant for years, and he gave us some great advice, and he's been really good to us. Anyway, so he talked to us, and we decided to form an S corporation. So we went online, filled out the paperwork. Quick Corps, I think, was the online site, and formed our S corporation, and you know, that's how we operate as a business legally. So why did we decide to produce PLA as our product, polylactic acid? Well, we did a little bit of market research, and when we really just, with the printers, knowing what was easy to print and what wasn't easy to print. And PLA was really the easiest to print out of the gate, and we felt like that was the avenue that we could move into and really produce at a quality level. About 47% of the market is PLA right now, and really we focus on the consumer market. We have some industrial customers. Like we were talking earlier, we sell to a ghost hunting equipment manufacturer in Florida. So you know what they do with it, you know, that's on them. But well, we do sell to some bigger volume type places. ABS is the next highest market product. It's at about 30%. The only thing about ABS is, and it's funny because I'm printing some ABS right now, and my daughter and wife were in the kitchen, and they're like, "Who's cooking popcorn?" And so it's like, no, I'm printing with some ABS, because we usually print with PLA. And they walked in the back room, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's it." So ABS does put off a little bit of a different type smell. In high quantities and low airflow areas, it can be a little, you know, toxic. But anyway, we don't produce that right now. So, and then we looked at some Google search trends and saw that PLA was trending up, and ABS is, you know, pretty right behind them. So, okay, so we're in. Now what the heck do we do? You know how to design a website? No. Do I don't know? No, we don't know how to do any of this stuff. So we go to GoDaddy and buy our website. You know, what should we be called? Well, being the creative guys that we are, we said, hey, what about H&H 3D Plastics? That was the first name we threw out. We went through a bunch of iterations and came back to that because we're kind of boring. But it stuck, and that's what we used, and have been able to kind of build that brand out there for the last year. Pictures, product pictures. It's like, how the heck, what are we going to do for product pictures? Luckily, Jason is a novice photographer, so he built a photo sweep, and we were able to actually take some halfway decent product pictures. So there's just an example of some of them if you want to pass it around there. Logo. So one of the big things that you want to be identified with is your logo. So initially we designed our own logo, kind of going back and forth, and just kind of drew it in paint. And then as we started to get a little bit, you know, more sales and talking to some people, we're like, you know, we could probably use an upgrade on our logo. So we partnered, or we talked to Logan Wade there in Linton, and Logan was really good to work with, and we were able to bounce stuff back and forth, and he came up with the logo that you see on our shirts and on our website now. You can kind of see where we started, and the old logo is on our business cards, and then that's our new logo that we really like it, and Logan did a fantastic job for us. How do we sell the product? When we got on our website, we just kind of put it out there. You try and get as much traffic to that website as you can, but you've got the evil empire out there, Amazon. So if you want to be successful, unfortunately, you got to get on Amazon. So we started looking at Amazon, figuring out exactly how do we get there. And it's so big, and it's very, there's a lot to put in your products. Not necessarily getting them on Amazon, it's pretty quick and easy, but getting people to see your product on Amazon is a little more, is a little tougher. So looking at keywords, figuring out how people can type in filament and we come up. Figuring out all those search terms and things like that. And I just put a slide here together, the top 10 most influential companies on 3D printing. Autodesk, which does Inventor and AutoCAD and stuff like that, is number 1. Amazon is number 2. And they don't actually do anything with 3D printing, they just resell it and put it out there and sell 3D printers. But they're out there. So what else can we do to kind of continue to grow revenue and bring business in and get our name out there? We kind of tossed it around for a while about, we're at Duke and Edwardsport. That's where we're at all the time. We work for a small engineering company out of Terre Haute, but we've been at Duke Edwardsport for quite a while, helping out, getting stuff running there. People find out you have a 3D printer, always wanting something printed, always. So, but we don't care. We're cool with it. We like it. We like giving that stuff away. I would venture to say if you go anywhere in Duke Edwardsport, in any office, you are going to see this. They are going to have a Darth Vader head with pins in it, I almost guarantee it. I can't tell you how many of those things we printed and given away. But everybody kept saying, "You guys sell those?" And we're like, no, just take them. You guys could do make a lot of money selling that stuff. We're like, oh no, we're selling filament. We're like, well, took enough people. Finally, we put our 3D printers on what's called a 3D hub. And sure enough, we've gotten in the last couple months another outlet for us to sell our filament. So we've been able to put our 3D printers out there. We've got some bigger volume 3D printers and some smaller volume 3D printers. And people will, hey, I want this. Right now, my printer at home's printing a GoPro wind speed thing. Jason's printer is printing a Fiero dash or a shifter console. So things like that, you're like, why in the world would anybody ever want that printed? They do want it printed, and they want to have it at home so that they can use it. So for us, it's not only been a way for us to utilize our printers, but a really good outlet for us to utilize our filament and be able to generate some sales there internally. So we started thinking about how can we look at getting a bigger volume 3D printer. Bigger volume 3D printers are expensive. So we've got one that's a pretty good size, but we wanted a little bit bigger printer. We started looking at, well, actually they sent us an email. We get a lot of emails from companies wanting us to distribute their product, especially from overseas and from China. So one of them looked somewhat promising. So the company, we ended up buying a printer from them. After going back and forth with them, all the technology problems that they had with the printer, and never being able to find a resolution from, heat variation, giving them, very precise technical details on how to fix the heat generations, and getting emails back that say, "Thank you, my friend. It still is not good." So it's like we just got frustrated and said, "Yeah, we're not going to do that. We're gonna keep it internal. We know we can build a 3D printer, so we are in developments right now of putting together an 18-inch by 18-inch by 24-inch 3D printer." And just to give you an idea on the size of that, this head right here was printed. This is from the episode 7 Star Wars, a new Stormtrooper helmet. So this was printed in 6 pieces on a smaller 3D printer that we have. On our 3D printer, we'll actually be able to print this in one print. So the way it slices out, you may not want to print it in 1 print, you may want to print it in 2, but the volume of it itself, we can actually be able to print that on one size printer. So how does a 3D printer work? The best way I can describe it is it's a hot glue gun on the end of a CNC machine that travels the X, Y, and Z axis. So for a CNC machine, it's going to remove material. So you're going to put a big block of wood, or of steel on there, and you're going to cut away, and you're going to make, this die. You're going to send it through, drill a hole in it, all that kind of stuff. For us, what we do is additive manufacturing. So you feed the plastic in and you actually build it up rather than take it away. So there's some cost advantages there over steel, as far as when we talk about prototyping, new product developments and things like that, where you're not making multiple iterations out there of a metal type product. So where do we go from where we're at? And we get that question a lot, and what our common answer is we'll see. We just had a really good meeting there with Brooke and Brianne and Jason, and kind of looking at things that we don't know. And you were a real big help for us on giving us the SBC and a lot of the small business links and stuff like that you just emailed to us. And as we go out and kind of network and see, what else is out there, because we don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So we don't know a lot of this stuff that we see out there, and we meet people such as yourselves that, hey, this is all free. Go to IU Law and you can look at patent stuff that, could be free. There's a lot of stuff that's out there that we just don't know. So when we look at where do we go from here, we are looking at, taking advice, taking it all in and seeing where do we go from here, and looking at what's our 3D printer going to do when we get it on the market. Prototyping is something that we really didn't think was something that was a big deal. And that's been in the last 2 months, just a huge eye-opening experience for us, that there are a ton of people that want stuff made, that don't want to spend $3,000 or even $1,000 on a 3D printer. They just want to, hey, I can draw on AutoCAD. I don't want to deal with having a 3D printer at home, but you can make that for $50, I'm in. Just so much of that stuff that we didn't know. But we're seeing that, and we're learning, and we're evolving, because the market is still young, and we're young as far as a company, not age-wise really, but as far as a company. So we're still trying to just figure out how do we navigate through this. We know from a filament side, we're limited on space. We are in a garage. We're limited on our process capability because we've got a small, our heated water bath at the beginning needs to be about 3 or 4 times longer, which we actually have that piece of equipment sitting in his garage. We just can't install it yet because we don't have the space available to install it to make like an ABS product that would come up that needs to be a lot hotter, and it needs to be cured a lot longer in that hot water bath. The hub, it's really been an unexpected surprise for us. Big volume prints. Said Jason's got a bigger volume printer, that a lot of our stuff has come that way, but we're starting to see some of the smaller volume prints come in as well as we get our rating and things like that built up on the hub. Capacity, we actually, it's funny because we would have never dreamed that we would have gotten behind on the hub. I've got 2, he's got 2, but we had so many orders at one time, we were behind and pushing people out. We were like, how in the world did this happen? We never saw that happen. And then releasing our 3D printer, kind of how do we do that whenever we get it built and our prototype, and we've got all the bugs that we feel is ready for a production ready machine. We've talked about Kickstarter, putting a crowdfunding campaign out there for the 3D printer itself. And we've talked about not Kickstarter and just, putting it out there as, hey, we've got this 3D printer available, this is the volume, and seeing what happens with it. So just a lot of things out there that, for us, we've kind of looked at and talked about, and again, listened to everybody that continues to feed us information. I liked your comment that earlier that no Indiana engineer thinks they do anything special. We definitely fall into that category. We feel like this is something that we've just kind of done, but people we talk to are like, they look at it and they think, oh, that's really cool. This is going to be huge, and we're still trying to understand that. And we would like for it to be bigger. We would like for it to provide jobs. We would like for it to filter to the youth and really look at how do we get people involved and excited about it, because we're excited about it. And how do we, get that filtered down and get it spread out and really start to develop what we can do and what we can offer and what we can help grow the local economy, not only the business, but offer those type things out there.